Speaking for finance commissions, those of you who don't know these beasts called finance commissions, they are constitutionally appointed bodies every 5 years to reset the formulae governing the sharing of tax resources between central government and state governments. And recent finance commissions have also taken it upon themselves to make a provision for local bodies. On the 13th Finance Commission, we took great care to make the flow of funds uniform per capita between rural and urban areas. So that was a major improvement that we thought we had wrought. One should really ask the question, why? What was there structurally in terms of political economy or whatever in the system that made for this imbalance in fund flow from higher level governments to local institutions in terms of the rural-urban share? One must also keep in mind that one of the reasons why urban areas were disfavored in terms of resource transfers was because they had a defined fiscal domain, namely the property tax, which was largely absent in rural areas, that it was felt that urban local bodies, urban areas had the wherewithal to collect their own revenue should they choose to do so. So that was one of the reasons why there was this imbalance. The question then arises, why have urban local bodies been so ineffective at using the property tax as a device for raising their own revenues? Before I go into that, let me say that in the 13th Finance Commission, we once again instituted or built into the structure of transfers from the central government to local bodies in all the states. We built in an incentive structure to encourage, to incentivize the states to do two very important things. One was, we laid down a conditionality that in every state, the property tax should be fully enabled politically. And the reason we said that was because very often in state elections, a party striving to capture power at the state level will promise as part of its election manifesto that they will repeal the property tax. Now, this is something that they simply are not empowered to do because the property tax does not fall in the state fiscal domain. But this is something they do anyway. So we laid down as a conditionality that for a state to receive local transfers, it has to fully enable property taxes in such a way that no party coming in the years going forward could actually repeal the property tax. As a kind of poaching on another subnational government's fiscal domain that is institutionally the kind of thing you would find in a banana republic, but should not find in a country like India, which believes it's not a banana republic. The second institutional requirement that we required as a conditionality for the fund flow was that at the state level, there should be a property tax board, which would help urban local bodies to calibrate their property tax because each urban local body is not going to have the professional or technocratic capability to calibrate its property tax. And so these were the two conditionalities that we laid down, and going forward we hope that they will incentivize state governments to do precisely those things, because if they don't, then the full flow in terms of revenues to local bodies will not flow to them. If they fail those conditionalities. Let me look very quickly at why urban local bodies fail so persistently and so dramatically in fully exploiting their property tax, even in states where they're empowered to do so, even in states where the state government has not repealed the property tax. There are two reasons. One, of course, evasion of all taxes is a standard feature worldwide, and in our country more so. One of the reasons why people with respect to the property tax, in particular urban residents who should be paying the property tax, one of the reasons that they are so reluctant to do so is because they just don't see any quid pro quo for the property tax that they're supposed to pay. As far as they can see, the urban authorities are just not delivering anything, are not delivering any services. And so why should they pay up? So there is a real a problem, an institutional problem, which has to be overcome. And in this respect, I'll mention just one experiment, which is very interesting. which has been instituted in Delhi by the Delhi Chief Minister. It's called the Bhagidari Scheme. And under this scheme, what she has done is to encourage local communities to form residence welfare associations, RWAs, which will then get, if they are registered, properly registered and so on, they'll get a subvention from the state government. So it's a sort of parallel fund flow. But the reason it works well is because the RWA takes care of last mile service delivery. So for instance, they take care of collecting the garbage door to door and then actually handing it over to the collection point which the municipality might have in place. And this has worked reasonably well. And paradoxically, very paradoxically, I think if you have this kind of a last mile service delivery connectivity independently of the urban local body setup, then people might even more willingly pay the property tax into the urban local body coffers because they're actually seeing the garbage being collected from their immediate neighborhood and they're seeing the system somehow work a bit better. There are other major sources of revenue which remain untapped in urban areas, principally because authority for dealing with the development of urban areas, buying land and selling it for commercial purposes and so on, does not belong to municipalities. It still is in the hands of state-level urban development authorities, DDA, Jaipur Development Authority, Ahmedabad Development Authority, and so on. And in terms of research going forward, I think we need to do a lot more on merging these development authorities with the municipalities so that municipalities are further empowered fiscally. Thank you.